Jean-Carl Vernet, Maxime Bonny, Julien Brissé, Michael Assona, Stian Paulsen, Borgovic, Fine, Dominique Richard, Bar, Nachi et Cruz. Voilà donc ceux qui ont été dans la dernière des qualifications et qui seront les pilotes susceptibles de remporter la course prioritaire. Voilà, ils sont tous arrivés et dans quelques instants, ce sera donc le départ du tour de formation. Puis ils viendront se ranger sur la grille de départ avec un départ arrêté. Effectivement, la confirmation, c'est un départ arrêté, stand start, mais qui est quand même efficace sur le plan visuel et de belle qualité souvent sur le plan sportif aussi, du moment qu'il ne s'accroche pas. TCR Europe, TCR Benelux, départ de la course à 17h20, quelle heure est-il? C'est 17h20. Dans 10 minutes, messieurs, vous serez, messieurs, madame, vous serez au Turbin et vous aurez cette piste pour vous d'ici un quart d'heure. La course n'est pas très longue, hein. C'est 23 minutes plus un tour. 20, c'est pas mal, 23 minutes plus un tour, départ à 17h20, live TV, et au départ nous aurons le fameux Cassat, des pilotes de grande qualité avec notamment Jean-Carl Vernet sur la voiture 69 qui rejoint le Benelux ce week-end sur son Audi RS3 Ensuite, en deuxième position, nous aurons Maxime Petit du Come to You Racing sur une VW Golf. Maxime Petit qui nous doit une revanche et qui va la prendre, on l'espère, ce week-end à bord de la voiture numéro 88. Il a fait un excellent deuxième chrono général sur la VW Golf GTI numéro 88, je vous dis. En troisième position, Julien Brichet, JSP Compétition, c'est bien lui, sur une Peugeot, une 308 TCR, il a tourné en 2,29 414. Michael Ascona est un pilote espagnol. Il roule sur une Cupra TCR. Il a tourné en 2,29 739. Oui, c'est bien ça. Ensuite, cinquième place pour Paulsen, le Norvégien sur Cupra 2,29 999. Sixième, Borkovic sur la Hyundai numéro 62. Septième, Fine sur la...
Hello and a very warm welcome to the circuit Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes region of Belgium, home to rounds 5 and 6 of the 2018 TCR Europe Series. A very warm welcome to you wherever you are watching in the world, and warm being the operative word. It was a very misty, muggy start to the morning, but air temperatures climbing now to 23 degrees, track temperature of 32 degrees. It feels very hot, very sticky here, and the surprise to anybody that knows Spa-Francorchamps is that it hasn't rained so far today. It's one of those circuits which has its own microclimate, and whatever else is happening in Belgium, usually there's rain at Spa. And so far today, as I'm touching wood as I say this, it's not rained. So if you were looking at an entry list earlier in the week, you'll have seen 25 names. Let's count off the ones that aren't here. No Stefanovski, you see there car 7 from Macedonia. No Jedlotsky, Mark Jedlotsky in the Cupra, not with us, and also a non-starter after going off this morning in qualifying, car number 10, which is the Honda Civic of Viktor Davidovsky. So you see 25 entries, 22 in fact will be on the grid for this first of the 2 races from Belgium. There is the man on pole position, Jean-Carl Venet, who missed the previous round at Zandvoort because of a clash with WTCR, which is his priority this year. The reigning TCR International Series champion, electing to do both series this year. And he's always gone well here at Spa. It's a circuit that should suit the Audi. We always thought that the aerodynamics of the RS3 LMS would be to the fore at Spa-Francorchamps, and that's the way it's proved. And that looks to be the only man who can live with him at the moment. Alongside Jean-Carl Venet on the grid will be Maxime Petit in the Volkswagen Golf. Third on the grid will be the Peugeot of Julien Brichet. There it is. One of the newest TCR cars. You'll recall that the Peugeot started off life as a cup car and has evolved into a full TCR car. Still one of the smallest engines, 1.6-litre turbocharged. The cars, of course, are allowed to use up to a 2-litre engine, but Peugeot, not having a 2-litre turbo or 2-litre petrol engine in the family, have elected to go for the 1.6. Michael Azcona in the Cupra, a very happy-looking Michael Azcona. Winner in Zandvoort last time out, and so coming to Spa as the joint leader of the TCR Europe Series, along with Dusan Borkovic. There's a very popular man, Stian Paulsen in the Cupra. Will start from 5th on the grid. Will start 6th in race 2 for the reversed grid. Stian not sleeping well, he was telling me. The pressures of driving and team managing and prepping the car and doing his video blogs, obviously preying on his mind. There is Borkovic, winner of both the opening races at Paul Ricard in the south of France, to take an opening lead. Not such a happy hunting ground in Zandvoort. There it was Josh Files who won the second race. There is Files, starting from 7th on the grid in race 1. And Josh telling me just before I walked up to the commentary box that he's gone for quite an aggressive setup for this race. He said expect some fireworks at the start and I'll explain all as we go along. There is Stefano Camini, two-time TCR International champion, started the season in the Race Republic Subaru, elected to miss Zandvoort while he sorted out a replacement car, and Camini will be in the Honda Civic, we understand, for the remainder of the year. Chris Richard in the number 94 Hyundai from Target Competition. He'll be on the front row of the grid for race 2, alongside his teammate, young Irishman, Rhys Barr. So let's confirm that grid for you then. On the front row, Jean-Carl Venet on pole with Maxime Potti alongside, Julien Brichet and Michael Azcona on row 2, Stian Paulsen, Dusan Borkovic, row 3, Josh Files, Stefano Camini, P8 on the grid in that Honda. Row 5 then, Chris Richard and Rhys Barr in the two Target Competition Hyundais. Danny Cruz in the Cupra alongside Jens Renner Moller, Francesco Mora and Danny Nage. Then it's Attila Tashi. Disappointing performance from Tashi with Francisco Abreu alongside. Then it's Piero and Cencetti, Giovanni Altoe in the DSG Audi, and, Bo Coppens, Marie Bo Coppens, Satyen Tirakul, Munkong Satyen Tirakul from Thailand on the back row of the grid, with last of all Martin Rieber. And I should explain, Satyen Tirakul has made the odd appearance in the TCR International Series. This is the first, I believe, of 3 appearances in TCR Europe for the Thai driver. And if you hear me refer to Turbo, that's his nickname, rather than try and go for the full Munkong Satyen Tirakul. So there then is Borkovic. So the green flag lap then. This fraction over 7-kilometre circuit at Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most iconic circuits in the world, has been a love affair with Formula One over the years. The circuit reduced from the original 15-kilometre street circuit made up from public roads. First race here was in 1921. The first car race actually only had 1 entrant. And so it was actually a motorbike race that started off proceedings at Spa-Francorchamps. Following qualifying, Michael Azcona has just edged ahead of Borkovic by 2 points. Venet takes the 5 for pole position, and Jean-Carl Venet saying, basically after having missed Zandvoort, he needs to get a healthy collection of points here in Belgium if he's to get his championship bid back on track. And so if he can win race 1, that'll be 30 points from today. Qualifying held a little earlier today. But he is rather concerned about Maxime Potti alongside him in the Volkswagen, and especially behind him is the Peugeot. And he was saying that the Peugeot always starts well, and so it'll be the run down to the first corner that'll be very interesting. There is Paulsen in the bright yellow Cupra. 62 is Borkovic. Andriana, always a supporter of Dusan at these circuits, is not here today. I'm sure she's watching the live stream. So, hello, Andriana, wherever you are in the world. I'm sure she'll be keeping in touch with social media as well. So there is Potti. There is Brichet behind in the Peugeot. That's the scene in Jean-Carl Venet's garage. So Venet in one of 2 Audi RS3 LMSs, the other in the hands of Giovanni Altoe, the DSG car towards the back of the grid. But the long straights here at Spa, as I said earlier, we always thought would favour the Audi, and that's exactly what's happened. Venet quickest in both free practice sessions yesterday, quickest in qualifying, and Maxime Potti on home ground, the only man really able to live with him, but he was around half a second slower than Venet, so clearly Venet stamping his authority on things so far. Now there is Josh Files, was telling me that he's gone for quite an aggressive setup, which will almost certainly involve lots of oversteer at the beginning of the race. Files saying that he'd rather be going sideways than going slowly. But the one thing that does concern him is tyre degradation. It's always quite high here at Spa, particularly in these air temperatures, track temperatures. So will that brave setup gamble pay off? Will the tyres last until the end of this half hour, the 23 minutes plus 1 lap race, which here at Spa means it'll be quite close to half an hour. Martin Rieber there in the number 17 Volkswagen Golf, one of 2 on the grid. The other is on the right-hand side of your screen. So at opposite ends of the grid, the 2 Golfs. There is Altoe, I mentioned a moment ago, in the DSG Audi. There is Turbo, Munkong Satintirakul. As the last few cars take their places on the grid, it'll be the drag down to the first corner, the right-hand hairpin at La Source, that will be perhaps the most interesting scrap of this opening lap. The green flag is waved. We're moments away from the start of round 5 of the 2018 TCR Europe Series. We're waiting for the lights at the top of your screen. They go on, we're moments away. The revs rise, the lights go off. Watch Venet and watch the Peugeot. The Peugeot has bogged down. So, far from the start we were expecting, Venet has Potty tucked in and behind. And Brichet, a nightmare start from him. Athkonar third in that multicoloured, the very bright Cupra. Around La Source they go. One of the Hondas running very wide. Down the hill they come towards this triple corner at Eau Rouge and Radillon, the climb up the hill. Comini saying he was going to take this opening lap absolutely flat. Athkonar still third, Borkovic fourth. Then it's Comini, I think, ahead of Files. So Comini and Files started alongside each other as Venet comes down the Kemmel straight. And indeed, Comini has got past Files. And Borkovic alongside as Paulsen takes to the gravel. Comini now alongside Borkovic, going around the outside. Contact, a little nudge between the two. Files in traffic, Paulsen dropping back. But still, Maxime Potty living with Jean-Carl Venet. And look at that Peugeot having dropped back. Julien Brichet telling me in French, which I don't speak, but was saying that really a podium finish was a dream, and indeed he's way back in traffic. And that Peugeot really not where he wanted it to be. Stavolo then for the first time through into the left-hander, the long left-hander at Blanchimont. And here they come down towards the chicane. So to complete the first lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, Jean-Carl Venet leads from Maxime Potty. Oh, who is that in the background? Straight lining the chicane. So Venet then from Potty, from Athkonar, Borkovic, Comini, still holding off Files. Then Danny Cruz, Chris Richard, Stian Paulsen dropping to 9th. Then Danny Nage, Renciano Muller. There is Tashi, ahead now of Julien Brichet, who's dropped right back. Maribo Coppens right at the back of the field, having passed Martin Rieber. Takes a little look. Maybe just trying to unsettle Josh Files. Let's take another look back at the start and just look at the second row. Julien Brichet just bogs down in the Peugeot, does not get it off the line cleanly. Athkonar comes across and blocks. as Maxime Potty just tucks up behind Jean Calvinet. Let's see if we can spot who this Honda was. I think it was Tashi. And Paulsen also makes a dreadful start. And it was Files up alongside Stefano Camini. Ooh, contact there, that's Brichet. And it was Brichet that ran wide at the chicane that I saw in the background of that shot. So that would explain that. Venet being kept honest at the moment by Potty. I did think that JK would be off and away, but indeed the Volkswagen living with him. And Files, you may have seen in one of the on one of the touring car websites, was quoted earlier on as saying that the Hyundais and the Hondas would be nowhere, and the VAG cars, the Audi, the Volkswagen and the Seat, or the Cupra, I should say. And that's Rhys Barr getting it all wrong. But Files saying the Honda and the Hyundais would be nowhere. Well, not quite. Borkovic, P4, Camini 5th, Files 6th. Then it's Paulsen, who's already up to 7th. And that's Chris Richard, I think, alongside. Danny Cruz in the bright blue Cupra, just making contact. As we look down the hill from Radillon through Eau Rouge. The camera position doesn't really give you a sense of just how steep that climb is. And Camini having to defend from a determined Josh Files, who's almost up alongside the two Hondas, though. Going through Les Combes, down towards the right-hand hairpin at Bruxelles. Maribo Coppens making contact there with Martin Rieber, just coming through the chicane. And Rieber turning into her and forced to run wide. No surprise in the outcome. So there's Borkovic, Camini, Files, Paulsen. Chris Richard then in the second of the target cars, currently P8. Danny Cruz in 9th. And Julien Brichet running in 10th currently, ahead of Jens Renaud Moller. And as I say that, Julien Brichet makes up a place, goes ahead of Danny Cruz. Now this is a scrap worth keeping an eye on, because Josh Files is still all over the back of Stefano Camini's car. Files is responsible for a lot of the development work on the Honda Civic, the FK7. Camini, having just made the switch to the car, he's had a couple of days testing, but no way does he know the car as well as Josh Files. But then, Stefano Camini is a double TCR International Series champion. Stian Paulsen now is closed up on the back of Josh Files. Chris Richard too in close attendance. There is Julien Brichet. These gaps have all closed up. So there is Camini, Files, Paulsen. In the background is Richard, with Brichet in close attendance. Down the Kemmel Straight they come, as we see the leading trio just going through shot. No change there. Once again, Camini moves across to block. This time, though, Files just takes a little look up at the inside, but the door isn't open just quite enough for him. Julien Brichet, meanwhile, has moved up a place. Rhys Barr is in the pits. So Brichet now. His next target is the Cupra of Stian Paulsen, who in turn is attacking Josh Files. So this, the battle from 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, and 9th if you include Richard. And was that Brichet going through? Yes, it was. Brichet up alongside the Cupra of Stian Paulsen. Paulsen, though, has the line for this next right-hander. So keeps the position. So the two Hondas then of Camini and Files battling it out. Then it's the Cupra of Stian Paulsen, millimetres away from Josh Files' rear bumper. Then it's Julien Brichet in the Peugeot. And then it's the fourth different brand involved in that scrap as Josh Files runs very wide over the curbs. A mistake from Files, taking a little of the pressure off Stefano Camini, but four different car brands involved in this scrap. Two Hondas, a Cupra, a Peugeot, and a Hyundai, with the Cupra of Danny Cruz. There he is in the background as Paulsen moves up alongside Files. Files, though, makes the move on Camini and judges it very badly. Goes through the chicane, but will have to give the position back. And indeed he does. Immediately, Josh Files hands the position back to Stefano Camini, moves across to block Stian Paulsen. So now the scrap is between and Camini turns in and takes out Josh Files. Just didn't see him. Hopefully we can see that back as a replay. So in the meantime, that little confusion has allowed Brichet through. Now it's Stian Paulsen, then it's Richard, then Cruz. So all change from that battle we've been watching. There in the background, just coming out of the top of the Radion, is Camini. So there is Brichet, Paulsen, Danny Cruz alongside Chris Richard, but Richard has the line. Through Les Cons they go. Let's watch that back. So Files trying to go around the outside, just misses the braking point, takes to the runoff, so gets through, but has to give the position back. Now, what happened as they came down the start-finish straight? Great shot. Now, this is the bit. Camini turns in and bang, straight into the side of Files, and you can immediately see that Files' front left tyre is punctured. There he is. A very dejected Josh Files looks at the damage. Now, will the... And indeed, I'm seeing on my timing screen that the incident between 99 and 42 is under investigation. So, that incident where Camini turned into the side of Josh Files is already under investigation. And a race-ending incident for Josh Files. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Jean-Carl Venet has now opened up a gap from Maxime Potti. Michael Azcona very wide, running through the left-hander, excuse me, through the chicane they go, onto the start-finish straight. No change in our top three. There they are. Venet leads from Potti, from Azcona. Borkovic is still fourth. But behind the Hyundai, it's all change. There is Julien Brichet in the Peugeot. As we see Cedric Pirot in the mix. There he is, the number 13 car. Pirot getting past Genchetti for 13th. So outside the points. There is Attila Tashi, Josh Files' teammate. Tashi currently 12th. The gap's opening up now between the top three. Venet starting to pull away. Camini comes into the pits. And a rather bizarre way for his race to end, his first race in the Honda Civic, as Danny Nage goes up the inside of the Peugeot 308 of Francisco Abreu. So Nage taking 9th place away. So will Comini go back out, or is that it for race 1 from him? Race 2, remember, tomorrow. Into the final 10 minutes or so of this race. A lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, remember, is 2.5 minutes. So we will get to 23 minutes. Depending on where the leader of the race is, the next time they cross the finish line will be the start of the final lap. Moller then, Tashi, Pirot, Loris Cenchetti from Luxembourg, bringing up the rear of that little chain. Martin Rieber getting a final warning for track limits. We've not really talked much about track limits here at Spa. But certainly in free practice, there were a few fingers being wagged, and quite a few laps in qualifying were deleted because of track limits. And probably the driver who suffered the most from that was Danny Cruz in the Cupra, who had no end, I think about 3 or 4 laps deleted because of track limits. So there is Paulsen then, Chris Richard. There is Cruz, I mentioned, then Danny Nage, then Abreu. Just outside the top 10 then it is Muller, Tassi, then Pirot, then Cenchetti. Giovanni Altoe currently in 15th in the DSG Audi. Big gaps now starting to open up, certainly from 3rd back to 4th, from Azcona back to Dusan Borkovic. Still no word on any punishment, if any, for the incident involving Comini and Josh Files. Tashi's scrapping with Pirot for 12th at the moment. You'll have heard of the dramas involving Attila Tashi. His flight was cancelled on Thursday, so missed free practice yesterday completely, free practice 1 anyway, and arrived at the circuit just before free practice 2. So he missed one of the half-hour sessions, and he was telling me after qualifying that he just couldn't get his braking positions, his braking sorted out for the lap, and so really missing out on the extra half-hour session here yesterday. Tashi's still involved in that little 4-way battle. Jens Renaud Muller alongside, in front of him, excuse me. As we look at the Leopard Lukoil team area, there's their man, Jean-Carl Venet, looking to be on course for maximum points for qualifying and race 1 here at Spa-Francorchamps. He's opened up a decent cushion over Maxime Potti in the Volkswagen Golf in 2nd, who in turn has a decent advantage over Mikel Azcona in the Cupra in 3rd. 1.8 second gap between 1st and 2nd, 2.5 second gap between 2nd and 3rd, and then a 7.6 second gap between Azcona and Borkovic back in 4th place. Julien Brichet is 5th in the Peugeot. Stian Paulsen, you saw briefly there, is 6th in the Cupra. We're watching the scrap between Danny Nage and Francisco Abreu for 9th place. Nage, though, has the advantage as Jens Renaud Muller runs very wide coming out of La Source. So these two then scrapping for 9th. Ahead of them, Danny Cruz is 8th. Chris Richard is 7th. Then, as I mentioned, there is Stian Paulsen in 6th. So there's Richard, then Danny Cruz, then Danny Nage, with Abreu looking to go around the outside, but no, indeed, Danny Nage keeps the position, but this is a scrap worth watching. So it's Hyundai versus Peugeot. Two Peugeots in the top 10 at the moment, so both the cars that started this race are running in the top 10 currently. Peugeot coming quite late to the TCR party in terms of the full car. I remember when they ran the Cup car here at Spa in the TCR International Series a year or two ago. But having made the decision to commit fully, they have 2 cars running in TCR Europe. They also have cars, of course, running in WTCR, one of which took its first win in Zandvoort a couple of weeks ago. So this then the scrap going on just behind the top 10. Moller still holding off Attila Tashi at the moment. And Danny Nage, according to the timing screen, has just passed Abreu. So Abreu must have just nosed ahead. Danny Nage has retaken 9th. So Moller then holding off Tashi. Pirot currently in 13th. Cenchetti, there he is, in 14th. Ooh, and Tashi running slightly on the ragged edge. Is he going to go up the inside of Moller coming down to the chicane? I don't think so. No, indeed. Moller keeps the position. So no changes as Tashi goes up the inside, though. They now just drag down the start-finish straight. The 2 Hondas should be perfectly matched. As Pirot tries to go around the outside and has let Cenchetti through, I suspect. Yes, he has. Tashi now, though, side by side with Moller going down the old start-finish straight down towards Eau Rouge. And indeed, Tashi's got his nose ahead. The 2, though, will go through Eau Rouge side by side. Has Moller got the nerve? Yes, he has. There's contact between the 2. Moller sideways through the top of Radillon and spins out. Incredible between the 2. The test of bravery as you come through that flat-out section, down the hill, through the little left-right-left kink at Eau Rouge and then up through Radillon. And the slightest nudge from Attila Tashi. So the yellow flags are out at turn 4 at the top of Radillon as through goes Pirot. Tashi, though, not giving any ground, moves across to defend, has the line. Pirot thinks better of it. Cenchetti goes up the inside. They're 3 abreast coming through. And it may be Cenchetti that benefits. No, indeed. He goes round the outside. Tashi has the line. Cenchetti goes wide. And so it's Pirot now back into it. That was fairly breathless stuff. Let's take a look at this again. Moller just in front, but Tashi had the line. Moller turned in. There was contact between the 2, and that's the result. Jens Renaud Moller spins out, lucky to avoid the barriers, and so I don't think any serious damage done as Pirot dives up the inside of Cenchetti. And there's this little nudge between Pirot and Tashi, who holds his nerve. And again, a little bumping and bagging between Pirot and Cenchetti. And Giovanni Altoe also in the mix in the DSG Audi. So the clock has run down. The next time Jean Calvinet crosses the start-finish line will be the start of the final lap of this race. Pirot locks up under braking going into the chicane, but no, Tashi holds the position. As Altoe is now scrapping with Pirot. excuse me, Alto is scrapping with Cencetti. It's Piro that's scrapping with Tashi. Cencetti dives up the inside of the Audi, who bravely, or sensibly, keeps well out of the way. Down the hill towards Eau Rouge for the final time. There is our race leader on the final lap of this race. So Venet then still leads from Maxime Potti. The gap to Azcona has extended still further. And the incident between Tashi and Moller is under investigation. So that's more work for the stewards to do after this race. There is Mikel Azcona. We've barely seen him this race. So Jean-Carl Venet, half a lap or so now away from his first win in the TCR Europe Series 2018. Maxime Potti, just 18 years of age, as Jens Renaud-Moller has made it round into the pits. And as I was saying, no damage to the car, not that I can see anyway. So 18-year-old Maxime Potti looking to be on course to finish in second place, with Mikel Azcona in the Cupra finishing third. There is Danny Nage with the 999 on his car, as Jean-Carl Venet that certainly didn't tie up, because the counter appeared to have hit zero well before Jean-Carl Venet crossed the finish line. So we are now on the final lap of the race. One more lap then for Jean-Carl Venet to navigate around this 7-kilometre Spa-Francorchamps circuit. 1.7, 1.8 seconds, the gap between first and second, between Venet and Potti. Azcona nearly 4 seconds behind in third place. Then still Borkovic. There is Borkovic with Julien Brichet now in close attendance. 0.8 of a second behind is the Peugeot. Can Julien Brichet snatch fourth place away? He's certainly giving it all he's got on this final lap. Brichet climbing all over the curbs. Borkovic, though, defending. Oh, that contact was almost inevitable. You could see it coming. Borkovic, though, holds off the Peugeot. This is the scrap for fourth place. Hyundai versus Peugeot. And we were expecting Brichet to be really strong at the start, and that didn't happen. And it's this final lap which is giving us some of the most exciting racing from this Peugeot 308. Can Brichet get past Borkovic? Can the wily Borkovic keep the elbows out and hold Brichet at bay? And indeed, Borkovic does seem to be pulling away slightly, as Jean-Carl Venet comes down to the chicane for the final time. So, up to take the checkered flag comes the Audi RS3 LMS of Jean-Carl Venet. There the flag waves. Venet wins from Maxime Potti, a very popular second place, as Potti flashes the lights. Mikel Azcona finishes in third. Borkovic and Brichet still heading for the line. And indeed, virtually side by side, but Borkovic just gets it by 0.04 of a second. Borkovic then fourth, Brichet finishes fifth, Stian Paulsen finishes sixth, ahead of Chris Richard, seventh. Next across the line should be Danny Cruz, indeed. Danny Cruz, Danny Nage, and Francisco Abreu round off the top 10. Up to the line comes Attila Tashi to finish in 11th, holding off Pirot. Altoe crosses the line 13th. And then we've hardly mentioned Turbo. Munkong Setien Tirakul finishes 14th, ahead of Cencetti. So where did the challenge from Cencetti fade? Martin Rieber 16th, Maribo Coppens in 17th. And I think those are our finishers, with Jens Reno Moller in the pits, Rhys Barr, Stefano Camini and Josh Files all failing to finish the race. But job done for Jean-Carl Venet. He takes his helmet off. And we'll catch up with JK very shortly to get his reaction on a job well done. Ha ha ha. That's the view across from the camera overlooking Raidillon. Brilliant. And Jean-Carl Venet has his helmet off. That is Mikel Azcona getting the congratulations from the team. Confirmation then of the result from this first race at Spa-Francorchamps. Jean-Carl Venet, the winner, from Maxime Potti, Mikel Azcona, Dusan Borkovic, Julien Brichet, Stian Paulsen, Chris Richard, Danny Cruz, Danny Nage, and Francisco Abreu rounding off the top 10. 11th is Attila Tashi, with Pirot, Altoe, Setien Tirakul, Cencetti, Martin Rieber and Maribo Coppens. The final finishers, with the non-finishers, Jens Reno Muller, Rhys Barr, Stefano Camini, and on the next page you should see Josh Files. So let's head down to the pit lane. Fabio Ravioli is with our race winner, Jean-Carl Venet.
Jean-Carl Venet, congratulations, everything went as it was planned. You converted pole position to a great victory.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we wanted to do that, but it's not easy to always do what we were expecting. And no, it's great. The car was fantastic. My Audi RS3 was really great during qualifying. Was a little bit difficult during the race. Maxime was pushing me quite hard at the beginning, and I had to push quite hard on my tires. And then the last part of the race was quite tricky with the car because I destroyed a little bit the front. But no, it was fine. The plan was to score 30 points. We made it. Thanks to my sponsors, Leopard, Lukoil, Anonimo. Thanks to all the team, WRC. Thank you, guys.
I'm always tempted to say, and anyone else who knows me at this point, well done to Jean-Carl Venet, a very happy man. Now, what has that done to the points table? Well, Venet now moves up into third position. Azcona still leads. Borkovic now 5 points behind, but Venet 27 points behind the leader. Files dropped to fourth. Tashi drops to sixth, just ahead of Jaap van Lagen, who was, if you remember, Jean-Carl Venet's replacement at Zandvoort. Maxime Potti, that second place elevates him to ninth in the points table. Chris Richard moves up into 11th. And Julien Brichet now has 70 points, moves up into 14th place, nudging down Barr and Stefanovski. So let's relive some of the highlights for you of race one here at Spa.
You know, girl, when I'm with you, I always feel so good. I find a home in you. I find a motor at the beat. Come on. I see my future. I see my past. Present is good and all the rest. You've got the power. And it's always been inside yourself. Ain't no man can stop you. It's a woman power. You've got the strength. That makes it worse. Girl, you've got the power. It's always been inside yourself. Ain't
So highlights of race 1 here at Spa-Francorchamps, won by Jean Calvenet from France, driving an Audi RS3 LMS, who beat Maxime Potti from Belgium on home ground in a Volkswagen Golf, with Mikel Azcona from Spain third in a Cupra TCR. That's your top 10. Attila Tashi, frustrated that he couldn't put a decent qualifying lap together, finished in 11th. And Munkong Satyanthirakul, turbo to his friends, finishing 14th. That's a good debut in the European Series for Turbo. What can he do in race 2 here tomorrow? Josh Files, I suspect, will also be looking for a decent result from race 2. That was a fairly needless move from Stefano Camini, which took out both Camini and Josh Files. And it may well be that the stewards will have something to say about that at the end of the race. Next, though, is the podium ceremony here at Spa. And all three of the men on the podium, moving up in the order. Vernet having now moved up to third in the standings. Maxime Potti moving up into 9th place.